this is an area that I'm very much exploring through my art, of how to embody Dharma through art, not necessarily just in calligraphy, not just cultural art or Buddhist art. Buddhist art generally is very symbolic, it's iconographic, it's there, it's very rich. Buddhism is very rich in arts, and it supports, and it inspires and it supports visualization, etc., and helps it explain. But what really interests me is how you use art as a practice in itself. I question, well, what is creativity itself, And creativity really is an expression of, good creativity is the expression of freedom, But at the same time, you need a foundation to base the creativity in. Because if you don't have the means, if you don't know how to hold a brush or a pen properly and use it and understand the colour and all the techniques that go with it, if you don't have that discipline, then there's not a good way of expressing that creativity. Even somebody who says they're not at all creative, there's a little ceremony in whatever we do, making a cup of tea. There's that moment of sitting down and being mindful and pouring the tea, so you don't want to get tea on your nice polished table, and so there's a mindfulness and there's a certain grace about it, and you're very much in the moment when you're doing this particular thing. So that is a practice. It's a practice in itself. And of course, the Japanese have made it into a whole art form, which is highly, highly refined. And, the quality of your tea bowl and all of this, it's the same for Tibetan Buddhism as well. The ritual objects that we have, the spiritual materialism of it all should be used to get us from A to B, to get us to be liberated, to be enlightened. And you could say then you don't need it anymore, because you've got to A to B. But the trouble is, if you've got to B from being A, then there's all these other people that are still at A, so you have to show them, being at B, how to be a B. So then you have to be an example. It's called a teacher or a lama, or a Rinpoche to help, to guide, to teach. To teach this lineage, to teach this tradition. People appreciate beauty. Beauty is something really important. It's not just pretty. And beauty can be in anything. Beauty can be in something really handsome, really in a majestic way, like a great big black, ugly mountain can be awe-inspiring. But it has its beauty in that energy, And then on the mountainside, right down to the little daintiest of flowers, and the way they blow in the wind, has its beauty. So how you express that through the art, you're expressing beauty. But then you have to ask, well, what is beautiful? What makes something beautiful? And that's a good question in itself. I think for human beings, because we don't like change, we find beauty in a repetitive pattern, because there's stability there. But it has to have a beauty in its form, in its shape. This is where calligraphy is a good expression of that, because each letter of its own has a beautiful form, an elegance, a shape with that makes our heart sing. We kind of see, we go, oh, that's such a beautiful, but what is it that makes it beautiful? Is it the space between the marks? Is it the intention behind making the mark? Because your heart is free. I mean, I had a really nice conversation once sharing a meal with Annie Lennox. Now, Annie Lennox is world famous as a musician, and she's made many absolutely beautiful. Well, it depends on your taste, but generally people think, it's beautiful music, you know. And when you hear that, I remember as a child, you know, as a teenager, when I heard this music, it'd make me feel happy. You know, it'd lift my heart. So I said to Annie, as you do, you know, sharing a meal with her, I said, what do you think, you know, when you compose music, when you sing music so beautifully, you know, where are you coming from with this? And she said, well, it's like freedom, you know. I'm in the flow, she said, when I compose that. So what is it your connection to this in the flow? What's in the flow means? It means that you are unlimited, you're not limited, you are unimpeded, that right? You're unimpeded by those things that kind of bog us down in creativity, like having too much ego, or, you know, I want to write a nice song because I want to be famous. You know, that's the wrong attitude, you know. To be in touch with our relative to the ultimate. So you'll bring in the heaven, you could say, down through the music. And it's the same for the creativity as well. You're open and you're more in touch with something more ultimate.